Gerry Connolly, longtime congressperson from the state of Virginia, died the other day. He was 75 years old. He was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. I want to say pretty recently, and it's worth noting because yes, he died, but it's also
News
worth
coming.
talking about like the current state of basically the United States Senate and the United States Chambers of Congress being a goddamn fucking nursing home. We're going to hear a little bit of just like the report of this, and then I will get into my analysis of the situation. The analysis being like, why the fuck are these people in Congress and not playing bingo at a fucking resort in Boca?
Just in the last hour, Democratic Congressman Gerry Connolly has passed away. Connolly from the Commonwealth of Virginia was battling cancer of the esophagus. He was first elected back in 2008, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee. Gerry Connolly was 75 years old, and we were watching his health as we moved through his story. And in light of this news, you know, control of the House is very close. So when counting numbers with this huge bill before the House, it is 220 Republicans, 210 Democrats. So under the current state, Republicans still can only afford to lose 3 votes as we remember the life of Gerry Connolly today. With
Gerry Connolly was 75 years old and diagnosed with terminal esophageal cancer. Instead of retiring, he not only remained in Congress, but got appointed to lead the House Oversight Committee, which is the most important committee in Congress. It was Gerry Connolly who earned this role over Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It was Gerry Connolly who refused to step down at a time of tremendous political uncertainty and at a time when the Democratic Party is historically unpopular. We can talk about Connolly's record, his voting record, and admittedly, he was relatively decent on most issues. On, all of the Democratic issues, he voted properly. I'm not here to talk about that because that's in the past. I no longer give a fuck about what you did in the past. I care about what you're doing now. But he, similarly to many other Democrats, did not see the writing on the fucking wall. He did not choose to retire from politics to let the next generation in. This is a fundamental flaw with the Democratic Party. Their narcissism will lead to the crumbling of that institution. They refuse to get the fuck out of the way. They refuse to adjust their procedures even in the slightest. This was a big point of contention when Ruth Bader Ginsburg refused to step down. That was a little bit before I got into politics, but it paved the way to the Supreme Court super majority. Why do I say all this? Why am I singling out Gerry Connolly a couple of days after his death? Because he is the 6th fucking House Democrat to have died in office over the last year. Donald Payne Jr., Democrat from New Jersey, died 65 of a heart attack. Sheila Jackson Lee died 74 of pancreatic cancer. Bill Pascrell died at age 87 from natural causes. Sylvester Turner died at 70 from unspecified natural causes. And Raul Grijalva died at 77 of lung cancer. And of course, Gerry Connolly died of esophageal cancer. Just put yourself in the position of like you're working a regular ass job. Forget that you're a congressperson. Who the fuck dies of natural causes on the job? Very few people. Do you know why? Because when you're anywhere from 65 to 87 years old, chances are you've retired from your fucking place of employment. So that way you can live as a regular human being for a little bit. No, these fucking people decide to just remain in office. They decide to run knowing that they are 197 years old. They decide to run knowing that in some cases they are older than a fucking bagel. And then, in the instances of these people being diagnosed with certain conditions, because I understand that, sometimes you may get diagnosed with lung cancer after you're already in your term. Step down, man. Resign. These people do not recognize the tremendous impact that they have on people's lives, even when they are not voting on legislation. And I say this because these 6 votes could potentially swing certain bills in either passing or not passing. I think that if these 6 people had not died, there would be a different vote on the House reconciliation bill. That's impactful because when these people die, yes, their districts hold special elections, but those don't happen immediately. There isn't an immediate replacement for them. The point of electoral politics is to come in, do your job for however long, for a couple of terms, and then step down. I wholeheartedly believe in capping, in age caps for electoral politics, especially for the president, because if you have a minimum age, you definitely need a maximum age. But it is just so unproductive to have the Democratic Party be a fucking nursing home without all of the perks of being a fucking nursing home. I went to a rehab center a couple weeks ago. They played bingo 3 days a fucking week. These motherfuckers are not playing bingo, man. And they're old. They want to be playing bingo. Like, you have instances where people cannot show up to vote because they've been hospitalized for whatever reason, like Dianne Feinstein, who was like literally older than dirt, older than God, older than the goddamn Big Bang, missing votes because she was physically incapable of doing her job. This is a hugely systemic issue, and it comes at a time when the Republican Party, at least optically, seems to be trending younger. I know that there are also younger Democrats, but the Republicans seemingly don't have this fucking age problem. There needs to be a little bit more ageism in the Democratic Party, I think. But unfortunately, that won't happen because the Democrats are a bunch of fucking losers and they believe in hierarchy. Gerry Connolly was appointed to the House Intelligence Committee or the House Oversight Committee, whatever the fuck it is, I don't care. Not because of merit, not because he had 15 million followers on social media, and not because he's young and a terrific communicator with tremendous grassroots support. No. He became the head of that committee because it was his turn. No. Joe Biden became president because it was his turn. Because the Democrats said it was his turn. Hillary Clinton, because they said it was her turn. She had already been Secretary of State. It was time for her to get an old crack at the presidency. Because this is an unserious political institution.